Good evening, Ms. Jacobs.
Good evening, Chief Justice.
Are you well?
I'm well, thank you.
Let me begin by apologizing to you that we are starting this late. Any inconvenience you have suffered, we apologize for it. We were busy with other candidates.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Tell us a bit about yourself, very briefly. Who are you?
I was born in District 6, raised in the gang-infested area of Serges in Cape Town.
The real District 6?
The real District 6.
Wow.
You will see, if you go into the museum, my family name being Jacobs. You will see it at Stone Street.
Okay.
If you go there. So
Is it Jacobs or Jacobs?
Jacobs, Jacobs.
Yes.
Jacobs.
Okay.
So I was raised in Serges, the youngest of 6 children.
Yes.
I was schooled in Laverstown. That was a half-an-hour walk. And very early, Chief Justice, during high school, I learned, or I was subjected to the fact that walking past the flats, that you are daily reminded of the fact that the statistics in Serges is that you are going to become a dropout. You are not going to finalize your schooling. You are going to become a mother pretty soon. That is what I was daily subjected to, passing those flats on my way to school.
Yes.
I then went, after matriculating, I went to UWC, where, because of financial constraints, obviously, being raised, or let me put it this way, fortunately, being the youngest, I was fortunate enough to go to university, because then the others was working and able to assist my parents in putting me to university. So I did a diploma jurisprudentia, because then I had to find employment that enabled me or entitled me for state employment as I obtained a bursary. Thereafter, working, I obtained other qualifications.
Like B.Proc?
listed LLB, LLM in family law, and then recently my MBA.
Is your LLM not in labor law?
Chief Justice, I started a LLM in labor law.
Okay.
However, immediately pursuant to my divorce, I moved to the Northern Cape. With the result, I was never able to do the thesis part, so I was never awarded. But the coursework was done, but I never completed the thesis part.
Yes.
So I've only got the LLM in family law,
Yes.
which comprised of child law, customary law, proprietary consequences of marriage.
Why did you do MBA? Not that it's a bad thing, I just want to know the reason.
Chief Justice, it was, all my studies and most of what I've been exposed to is about law. But I needed to see a bigger picture, because one needs to be able, when you want to progress or enhance your leadership skills, look at what in particular will provide that kind of leadership skills.
Yes.
Now, from my MBA, I've gained a broader knowledge. I look at things differently than I did before I did when I was confined to only legal work.
Yes.
Now, I am more proficient with regard to management, more proficient with regard to human relations, which is very important in any court, because you deal with different role players.
Yes.
So that for me was the reasons why I did my MBA.
You were a legal advisor for some 10 years, isn't it?
Yes, I have.
In the House of Representatives?
Yes, Chief Justice.
In a sentence, what did you do?
Presided in matters.
Okay. And then as a labor consultant, Where were you based as a labor consultant?
Privately, I functioned, but Chief Justice, I had only one client that was actually the department where I also presided for them in labor matters.
Yes. And then you became a district magistrate, I suppose it was.
Acting in Mitchell's Plain at a time when Mitchell's Plain was servicing Mitchell's Plain and Khayelitsha.
For about 2 to 3 years?
Yes, Chief Justice, then I went to go and act at Kimberley, where after I was permanently appointed to Uppington Magistrates Court.
And you were in Uppington for some 4 years? I mean, in that capacity, you were a magistrate, district court magistrate for some 4 years?
No, Chief Justice, I was in Uppington physically 18 months, and a colleague had a problem, so we did a cross transfer, and then I went to Kimberley back, and then there I spent the rest of the 4 years.
Yes. And you've been a regional court magistrate since 2007.
Correct, sir?
So, all in all, your judicial experience amounts to how many years?
30 years.
3-0.
Yes, sir.
And
Just and having started 87 1st of March,
Yes.
and now being April.
have you acted as a judge?
Yes, sir. I've acted since 2013. I've acted for more than 4 terms. I've acted in the Eastern Cape.
Yes.
Only recently, being in the last term of 2016, I acted in Bloemfontein.
Yes. Did you find it to be a tall order moving from the regional court to the high court, or was it just a smooth transition from one judicial responsibility to another?
Sir, it was not that smooth a transition as I thought it would be,
Yes.
based on the higher technical nature of the work. So there was some transition.
Yes.
Fortunately, I'm grateful for the JP. He immediately appointed a mentor for me when I came acting in the High Court, who was able to assist me throughout.
And when last did you act as a judge?
The last term of 2016,
Yes.
and this present week, I actually came here from Bloemfontein, where I'm busy with a civil trial in Putadichaba.
Any reserved judgments?
No, sir.
Yes. JP?
Well-
Oh, sorry, ma'am. You may
Yes,
finish.
sir. Yes, I've got no reserved judgments from all the terms that I've acted. It is quite clear that if I've reserved the judgment was delivered within a very short period of time. Most of my judgments, whether it's from the regional court or on the high court, was delivered within 3 months. Initially, it was 10, especially criminal work, it would have been, especially appeals, it would be about 10 days. That has also improved. I'm delivering, for example, in the last term, I was able on a 3-week criminal trial where there were 2 accused who had different legal representatives, 2 counts. After having heard evidence of 11 witnesses, and after having allowed the accused in indulgence to call a witness, I was still able to finalize, deliver judgment after having presented my draft judgment to my mentor in Bloemfontein, to the researchers to check technical quality, and all was finalized within the 3 weeks period.
Yes. JP, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It is contemplated, I'm informed,
Yes, sir.
that during a criminal case should be limited to 7 days if there's a complicated matter. Otherwise, you're even expected to finish it the same day. Judgment and also reasons to be given. Do you think you will manage that when you're a judge?
Judge President, can I just please have clarity? Are you referring to evidence as well as the judgment?
Thank you, yes.
Thank you.
And sentence.
And sentence. I am able to deliver a judgment from my track record. I'm able to deliver, and I have delivered, as I just indicated, judgments within 3 days. However, having heard, you need to first hear the evidence. You can try and curtail proceedings. I've got a lot of experience in that regard, having dealt with a lot of criminal matters. But you cannot say to yourself that you're going to be certain defense witnesses is going to be at court. You have to take note of the circumstances. But by all means, if I am not the kind of person that take weeks with judgments, my criminal judgments start the day I start hearing evidence. My legal position that I need assistance on, I request from the researcher from the day that I start, because the indictment is going to give me an indication as to what legal aspects I need research on or needs some case law on. So in my mind, I'm able to deliver criminal judgment in 2 days, 2 to 3 days. And I take 1 day as far as sentencing is concerned after having heard evidence on sentencing. Thank you, sir.
You do limit your witnesses that appear before you when you are running a trial, not so? You always ask them to stick to the question and not dwell all over the show, not so?
JP, if you could put it closer to you, please. At times we hear you well, at times we struggle.
Thank you very much. I'm saying, Ms. Jacobs, when witnesses are giving evidence in your court, you expect them to stick to the question and stop, not so?
I cannot, it will depend, sir. One must understand that most of the witnesses that will appear in my court will make use of the services of an interpreter, with the result that it is not, one cannot, you must give the person an opportunity to express him or herself properly. And you must allow for, if at all, the person transgress you will obviously try and curtail by indicating that, but you will more address the counsel in front of you than what you will direct. It's only when the counsel cannot direct their witnesses that you will step in.
I'm only trying to suggest to you that if you are just to answer my questions, which are very short,
Okay.
instead of saying everything you know. Now, the last time you were before this commission, when was it?
2014, JP.
2014. And how many times before that?
This is my 3rd time before.
Third time. Now, have you done anything to improve your lot, yourself, after that, after 2014?
Yes, JP, firstly, as indicated, I'm grateful for you, in that you recommended me for an aspirant judges training. So that I went on. I enhanced myself personally by doing an MBA, and I have acted more than 2 terms since the last time that I've been here, where in terms of I gained valuable experience.
How many times did you go for Serges courses?
Once, JP.
How long did it take?
When JP referred to the aspirant judges training, that
Yes.
one is 1 week.
Or was it 1 week? The way you're thankful, I thought it's a longer period.
Well, sir, the reason why I'm grateful is that you cannot apply for such a position. You need to be nominated.
Do you think now, with your experience, which you're estimating at about 30, is it 30? Do you think you are likely to run into problems when you're taken or recommended as a judge?
JP, when I was asked to avail myself for the Mthatha post, I looked at what Mthatha needed, and I looked at what do I have and what I possessed. And what I have found was, as when I acted there, there's one thing that I found to be a problem was the aspect of awaiting trial detainees, that in certain or some instances is even from 7 to more years incarcerated. And I felt that my technical abilities and my productivity, especially as far as my criminal work is concerned, is in fact and indeed what Mthatha need. So if I can, what I've done as far as my own statistics concerned, to just demonstrate what is required, and I'm going to make use of the regional court statistics in that regard to give you an indication of what I'm capable of. What's required of a regional magistrate is to sit 205 days in court. In 2015, I sat in a criminal court for 176 days. I have finalized 111 matters, sir. And you are aware, in the regional court, we deal with murder, rape, robbery, fraud, corruption, and those kind of offences. The same kind of offences that a judge in the High Court will be dealing with. And therefore, taking into consideration that this is a particular concern in the Mthatha area, I think I am well equipped. I've made use of my mentors. I'm sure I will be mentored there. I've worked well in Mthatha before. I've expressed to you that I was very happy when I worked in Mthatha, though I was not afforded an opportunity to go and act there again. So indeed, I don't believe I will have a problem.
The information you have given relates to crime.
Yes, sir.
What about civil? What is your position?
My position as far as civil is concerned, if I can mention one aspect, quite recently I was reminded by the regional court president that on one particular day when he came to visit our offices and he came to my office, he said, he was looking at all the files on my table, and I said, I'm doing motion court, and this is 43 matters on my roll. And he said to me, now, Sadia, how long are you going to deal with these matters? And I said to him, I'll finish it today, but if not possible, I will roll over until tomorrow. It's not ideal, definitely, because I had to then not have any tea breaks. I had to request staff to just have half an hour lunch break. But I was fortunate enough, though, yes, it's divorce, most of it was divorce matters, but evidence are led in those matters, and especially when parties are claiming forfeiture, there are evidence that must be led and that you must make a ruling on. So I feel that I'm equipped, but not just equipped, I'm capable of learning. I'm moved on from where I've started. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CJ. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. President Premier?
No, thank you, CJ. I'm happy with the questions. That's fine.
Thank you, Premier.
Thank you, Premier. Commissioners, any question? Commissioner Nogesi?
Thank you, Sir. Your civil your civil procedure was a serious problem in 2014 and before. Let's take example the objections
Yes.
raised against you by the Eastern Cape Bar Council, where you granted judgment in the presence of the respondent. You just chase him away. Those things, how to ensure that you have, because you have no judgment that deals with those particular matters that you have finished.
Thank you, Commissioner. That query, Commissioner, came before the Commission on the previous occasion. I've accepted that I erred. I was, however, a bit disappointed in the Bar Council in that when they referred to those matters which I referred to earlier, they failed to refer to the fact that in 2014 later, I was indeed presented to judgments, to the judgment of mine that was taken on appeal, and that the judgment that I dealt with subsequent, being urgent matters, went on appeal and it was confirmed, therefore demonstrating that I have actually learned. And I must also just indicate that the mistakes that I've made then was after I acted for the very first time was when I acted for the first time in 2013. I have indicated that I have acted since then. I've acted in motion court, I've acted in civil court since then, and there's no, even from the body itself, they have not lodged any complaints thereafter, meaning that I have improved on that.
Right. Suppose in an opposed motion court, a dispute of fact arise, what are the options available to the court?
The court can refer the matter for oral evidence. So I would like to see you when I answer you, because now I also need to move because you're hiding. Thank you. It will relieve me also. You can refer to oral evidence. You can refuse the application. You can apply, as I failed to in the Matibesi case, correctly the principle I set out there.
Lastly, your understanding of the doctrine of separation of powers?
In plain terms, there's three branches of government. The legislative, whose task is to legislate, enact legislation. The executive, tasked with performing in terms of legislation, and the judiciary, in task with ensuring compliance with legislation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nokesi. Commissioner Norman.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good evening, Judge Jacobs.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, I just want to understand, you've had quite a couple of acting stints, both in the Eastern Cape and in Bloemfontein. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. 2014 was clearly not a good year because when you look at all the mistakes that you were making. But what I want to know is the mentorship that you received in both at the Eastern Cape bench and also Bloemfontein, so as to make sure that the mistakes that you committed in 2014 would not recur. Could you just explain to us what guidance did you get thereafter from those divisions?
As indicated when I started acting in 2013, Commissioner, perhaps it should be put as a correction. The mistakes was 2013, it was highlighted during the 2014, but I speak under correction. Then what, but from 2013 I had, now the way we worked was that before any judgment was delivered by myself, I would have discussed with my mentor my views on a particular aspect. After I've written my judgment, I would present my judgment to my mentor, and I would, in effect, if my mentor is of the opinion that there are any omissions, would guide me and direct me in a direction, and only thereafter I would deliver my judgment. And that has been the process during my acting.
Yes, thank you. Can you just go back? There is a pack which you will see in front of you. It has feedback from law bodies. Do you see that?
Yes,
And if you could please turn to page 253.
253.
253, yes.
One moment. There's something, I've got 259. Sorry for that, I found 253, thank you.
Yes. I just want to refer you to the dates that appear there. I had made reference to 2014, and you said, no, I was making a mistake, it's 2013. Are those dates correct that appear there? There's 2nd September 2014, and the other one refers to motion court.
My apologies, Commissioner. I was under the impression those matters was dealt with by me in 2013.
Yes,
But
so
if it's
those-
indicated here 2014, then it was 2014. However, I'm aware that it was before I came to the JSC.
Yes, no, we're not talking about the JSC, we're talking about your acting stints. Now, I just want one last thing. The Chief Justice had asked you your entire experience as a presiding officer. And
Yes.
if I recall well, I think your answer was that 30 was 30 years, am I right?
Yes.
Now, but how did you calculate that 30-year period?
Precisely in the following manner.
Yes.
As a legal advisor, I presided in disciplinary matters. Therefore, the experience that I gained was in judgment writing, because I had to write a judgment, and the skills that I acquired was in judgment writing and in what I would say objectivity. Two key features that a presiding officer should enhance or display.
But then that's presiding separately from the bench. So I think the question that the Chief Justice had asked you was you presiding on the bench?
On the bench,
Yes.
it's since 2001 when I became a magistrate.
All right. And then lastly, I think this is the third question, Chief Justice. I'm correct if I'm, yes.
Yes,
thank you.
you're right.
Yes, thank you. Just lastly, there is a judgment in the Sikabi matter that you wrote. I just want to just refer you. It was a criminal case, and it's quite an involved case relating to sodomy. And you had it over 2 days, and you delivered judgment on the 4th day. Do you see that?
Which page?
It appears in your pack, book 1 of 1, April 2017 shortlist.
I've got book 1 of 1. Are you referring to
The Sikabi matter.
yes?
You recall that matter? No, I would like you to just have reference to the dates. You heard it over a period of 2 days, 6 to 7 June 2016, and then you delivered judgment on the 9th
Yes.
of June 2016.
Yes.
Is it? What I want to understand is, do you believe that accorded you sufficient time to apply your mind to the facts? Because the incidents happened over a period of time. Were you satisfied that the 4 days was adequate time for you, in fact 2 days, for
2
you
days.
to hear evidence and immediately write the judgment?
I was able to, due to my organizational skills, as I've indicated. When I received the indictment, I immediately from that could see what is the legal aspects I needed research on. The evidence was laid, and then immediately after the evidence was laid, and I don't wait for all evidence, I summarize witnesses' evidence because I type myself. I do so immediately on a daily basis. With the result, when all that was finished, the day afterwards, I was able to present my mentor with a judgment to look at. And that judgment, I believe, has gone on appeal recently, and that it was confirmed. So I feel satisfied I'm capable.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Commissioner Norman. Commissioner Fourie.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Or good
Commissioner.
evening, almost.
Oh, sorry.
The last time you were before us, if I'm not mistaken, was in 2012, Ms. Jacobs. Is that correct?
No, sir, you forgot me in 2014.
Yeah. Perhaps I wasn't at that session. When you were before us in 2012, you did not
I have not yet
have
acted.
the opportunity to act.
Yes, sir.
And on a question of the then Minister of Justice, Minister Khadebe, asking you, I just wanted to understand your understanding, what's the difference between a magistrate and a judge? Your answer was, according to me, sir, there's no difference. And the discussion continued, and you were questioned on the fact whether you regard it as a disadvantage for not having acted in the High Court.
Yes.
And your view, based on your understanding that there's no difference between a magistrate and a judge,
Yes.
was ultimately that you don't think it's a disadvantage.
Yes.
Now, since then, you have acted.
Yes.
Can I ask you, do you still hold the same view, that there's no difference between a magistrate and a judge? And if so, why?
Commissioner, you clearly does not remember 2014. You asked me all three those questions in 2014. The reason probably why I remember was that time I also laughed because I said to you clearly I erred. And that you asked me, what are you saying?
No.
And I said I erred on the previous.
I haven't seen the transcript of 2014, and I can't recall it. I take your
But
word for it.
my answer
But perhaps
then,
just to refresh
I
my
definitely
memory,
erred in my submissions on that day, because clearly when I started acting, there was a vast difference.
Now, with your experience of having acted, what would you say just briefly, what would you say you have experienced as the difference between a magistrate and a judge?
The technical proficiency required, the organization skills required, the commitment levels required. That in short, at this point in time, I can say.
And are you of the view that you've acquired all of those through your acting stints now?
I believe I've demonstrated, yes, that I've acquired those, but that there's always a room for improvement, but I also believe that I've demonstrated in the manner that I've grown that I'm somebody that is capable to improve if there are any lacuna in my as person as being a judge.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Faure. Ms. Jacobs, thank you very much. You're excused.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Thank you.